Okay, look, there are a few things that I feel that we need to talk about here. Firstly, going over why we're making this video. Lego, what the hell? Why are you making two Canucks-related videos on the same day that aren't like random, out-of-nowhere videos like a trade or a signing or whatever? You're planning out two Canucks segments for the show, and I feel like, as a content creator who does things the way that he wants to, I feel like I have the right to get a pass once or twice in a while when I see more than one thing to talk about with my favorite team. Secondly, I also wanted to talk about yesterday because the Vancouver Canucks played off against the Arizona Coyotes, and they actually did pretty well. They held the Coyotes off to 7 shots, and Thatcher Demko stopped all of them. They won in very convincing fashion, and I unfortunately missed out on watching the second and third periods because I had to go to volleyball. Thirdly, I absolutely sucked. Like, oh my gosh, I know a lot of you don't care about this, but like, I feel like as the guy giving you the information as to what's happening in my life, like, I feel kind of traumatized after what happened yesterday, dude. I was so bad. I cannot receive, I cannot hit, I cannot do anything. And playing with a bunch of people, high school kids even, that definitely have had years of training, it was very intimidating. I've done this a few times already, playing the volleyball and going over to the drop-ins, but it was never this bad. This was a bad session yesterday for sure, and I kind of regret going, sort of, but I mean, it was nice to get the legs moving at the very least, so there was that. And thirdly, when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks, there are a few more things that I maybe wanted to highlight in regards to the trade. Because yesterday the Canucks gave up a second-round pick to, firstly, acquire a defenseman in Riley Stillman, as well as get rid of Jason Dickinson, who was a very bad player for the team. And I think when it comes to just the dynamic of that trade, because a lot of people are complaining, okay, second-round pick, that's a pretty big price for getting rid of Dickinson, man. You traded away a third to get him in the first place a few years ago, signed him to an extension, and now you've traded him alongside of a second-round pick for a random dude? We kind of talked about this yesterday before I went over to volleyball in the middle of the Coyotes game, but you probably can't really trust Pullman in the ways that you would like to. You're probably going to move OEL or Hughes, one of them, to the right side, which opens a spot up for a new guy like Stillman to come in here and still hopefully be okay. Now, there's an entire debate to go on as to whether or not Stillman is a good enough player to acquire, but with the cap hit in mind, it makes a little bit more sense. This is why I wanted to make a video on the main subject of this little segment of the show here. Let's talk about Andrei Kuzmenko. Because yesterday, against the Coyotes, Kuzmenko had himself a goal and an assist. He scored a very nice breakaway goal, absolutely going 5-hole on the Arizona goaltender, and the guy sellies like he's scored 1 million goals in the National Hockey League before. He just kind of skates away. He's like, yeah, I did that, baby. Let's get back out there on the board. The thing with Kuzmenko that I wanted to talk about here primarily is the fact that the guy is, or at least he appears to be, for all intents and purposes, absolutely legit. Sure, a lot of people went out there and said, hey, Kuzmenko might not be the next Artemi Panarin, he might not be Kaprizov, he might just be Vadim Shipachev, he might be Sergei Shirokov, he might be Nikolai Goldobin, or Burmistrov, or any of these guys that are good KHL players who just cannot go out there and put it together at the National Hockey League level. Kuzmenko might not be the Panarin, the point-per-game superstar, the Kaprizov, the immediate franchise game-changer. He might just be another Shirokov. But man, I know it's only been 4 preseason games, that he himself has actually played, but there is nothing in my soul that can go out there and doubt what it has been that we have seen from Andrei Kuzmenko so far. I know the preseason is the preseason. Hey, remember last year in the preseason? Or it wasn't last year, but a few years ago? When Ty Ratty for the Oilers was absolutely phenomenal and then he sucked in the regular season? You sometimes get a preseason standout once in a while. But when it comes to Andrei Kuzmenko, and I believe it's the 6 points that he had in the 4 games that he's played, in this sample, Andrei Kuzmenko looks like he belongs. I mean, playing with Elias Pettersson, you see the cycling that they're able to do down low. You could see that Kuzmenko, when he's down low on the power play, He's in Gretzky's office and he's doing the magic that he had perfected in the KHL last year. I'd said this in several videos, but last year, when Kuzmenko was on the power play, his bread and butter spot was Gretzky's office. He would be behind the net, dishing out passes to either corner, walking out in front and putting in rebound goals, or getting assists by making really nice plays. He belongs right there. And even now, with Brock Besser out, you have Bo Horvat, who is in the bumper spot, Kuzmenko feeding him one-touch passes after Miller on the half wall gives it to Kuzmenko down low. It just works, and it works in the best way that you would have wanted it to work when you made this prediction back in the summer. Now you have yourselves Kuzmenko going out there, scoring points, getting assists, dangling by guys. You could see the offensive IQ, you could see the shot, you could see all the great things that Kuzmenko is bringing. Bruce Boudreau is talking about how good this guy is. He's talking about how much he's adjusting to the NHL game. By the way, yesterday's media availability, this guy's got a great personality. And even though he is not 100% fluent in English in the same way that I am, or in the way that you are probably as a viewer of this video, unless you're watching it translated into another language, which is kind of cool, I didn't know you could do that, Kuzmenko is still such a lovable dude from the way that he talks about his game and his experiences and his adaptations to the North American game, that it's an absolute treat to go out there and listen to this guy talk about what he's been doing. He talks about PD and the translation and Podkolzin, and it's just so lovable. Like, there's so much real reason to cheer for this guy. He feels so real, and you just want to go out there and say, yeah, no, this is, for all things considered, a great story. Even if he's not an amazing hockey player, he's still a great story, and he just happens to be really good too, which makes it even more fun to watch. But now, the thing about Andrei Kuzmenko that you really have to worry about is the fact that if he does go out there and he does what a lot of people are starting to slowly believe he can do, let's do 6 divided by 4 for a second. He had 6 points in 4 preseason games, and multiply that out by 82. Kuzmenko, based off of his preseason performance, was on pace for 123 points in an 82-game season. Now, 123, he's not going to get that. I'll probably bet money that he gets fewer than 123 points by the time 22-23 is over. But if he goes out there and he is, at the very least, a 60-point winger, let's say he gets half of what he projected to get over the 4-game preseason sample that he had, the Vancouver Canucks are going to have to re-sign Kuzmenko, and they're going to have to give him money because the guy's going to be 27 years old, and he's coming off a $950,000 entry-level contract that takes him till the end of 2023. He needs to re-sign next year, and if the Vancouver Canucks really feel confident that he's going to be a guy that's worth shelling out money to, every little bit helps, and I guess that kind of plays into yesterday's Jason Dickinson trade. And you could definitely say that the Travis Dermott news also plays into that as well, because they acquired Riley Stillman, a defenseman who you could say is probably not the best, but he's cheaper than Dickinson. And you had Dermott being announced as potentially having a concussion yesterday too. So there's another layer to the reasons as to why Vancouver made this sort of trade. Furthermore, it's not even just Kuzmenko that needs a contract for next season, it's still Bo Horvat. At least at the time of recording this audio, Bo still needs a contract. So for Andrei Kuzmenko, while him being legit is an absolute fantastic thing to see for a lot of Canucks fans, hey, Elias Pettersson has a bona fide, offensively gifted and IQ-filled line mate to bounce off of. You still have to care about the future, because if Kuzmenko is as good as we think he might be able to be as soon as he is, then what's the dollar amount for that next year? Is he going to want to stick around long-term, or does he sign short-term, a bridge deal? What does he bridge the deal to? Till he's 30? I don't really know. It's going to be interesting to see where Castonguay and Alvin take these conversations with Andrei Kuzmenko, should they actually decide they want to keep him around. But based off of what we've seen in the preseason so far, and based off of how humble the guy is, I'm just really looking forward to seeing where he can go from here. Maybe 25 goals isn't all too unrealistic. Who really knows? I mean, the guy gets multiple points every single time he steps out there onto the ice, so we'll see what happens when that future time does come. But talk in the comments either way all your thoughts about these few Canucks topics, the remnants, the residue from the Jason Dickinson trade yesterday, the second-round pick being the price, how all this other crap files into that, the Arizona game yesterday, Andrei Kuzmenko and the points, and the interviews, and everything that Boudreau said about Kuzmenko, and how much he might be able to re-sign for next year when that contract extension period does come around. Let me know your thoughts and more in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.